Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day just for a little bit. When it comes to plants, you got to know what they like. And some plants like partial shade, some plants like a little bit more shade, some plants like wet feet, other plants like dry and damp conditions.
Right. And so you want to, if you're not sure what full sun or partial shade or partial sun is, etc., full sun is 6 to 8 hours, so basically all day or plus. Partial sun is 3 to 6 hours of direct sunlight, and partial shade is about 3 hours of direct sunlight. So you can also utilize, like, for example, if you have an area where you might get a lot of sun in the morning, you can kind of take that into consideration, or you get a lot of sun in the evening. That's still considered partial sun, partial shade, but it could work in your advantage if you use like a trellising system or something like that. So then deep shade, light shade is if you get like a filtered leaf situation, like you have a tree over that area. Most plants don't do super well in the filtered shade, but you could try to grow some things. And then deep shade or full shade is typically not where you're going to be able to grow much at all. Probably just weeds. So some things that do well in partial shade or partial sun, whichever way you want to say it, are cole crops. So this is like
C-O-L-E.
Also known as cruciferous vegetables a lot of times. I think there's another word for them, but
brassicas.
Yeah, brassicas, there we go. There it says like broccoli, cauliflower, turnips, kale, rutabagas, kohlrabi, and they do well. Sometimes they might not form, like cabbage might form more of like a looser
Now these are not summer hot day crops here.
No. None of these really are. So that's another thing to keep in mind is if you only have partial shade, you could probably grow like the summery vegetables like tomatoes, green peppers, or peppers in general, squash. I'm trying to think of more summery vegetables. Cucumbers. You could grow those possibly, but they might not do as well or be as large.
So a lot of things in which you want to consider here, and it changes throughout the growing season. Oh, it's full sun right now. Oh, there's a tree above. It's going to get partial shade.
Yeah. So that's another thing is if this is your first year growing, you definitely want to look above where you're going to grow, and then also take that into consideration. And maybe if you are concerned about a tree or a garage or a building or your house, or
it can benefit
whatever.
You can put your more sensitive plants in the area where the shade is going to be distributed during the hottest portion of the day, so you can kind of work in that area. If a plant is more daylight sensitive, like the early season, late season, you can put that crop in that shady area so it gets midday shade and kind of prolongs, like lettuce, prolongs the harvest rather than it going to bolt right away, because it's not so much the heat, it's the day length in addition to the combination of heat as well. Because we see it goes, 40 to 60 degree days, 90 degree day, everything goes to bolt.
Yeah.
But it's also the day length. At that point when it gets to 90, your days get much longer.
Right. And then, so there's a little saying that I say sometimes.
Go for it.
Who learned it from. It's if you grow it for the root or the fruit, you need full sun. If you grow it for the shade or for the greens, you can grow it in the shade. Now, that being said, you can grow things like radishes, like the smaller root crops, even beets.
Some carrots.
Even some potatoes will do okay, especially if you have like a lot of morning sun or evening sun. You really want to take advantage of that.
The potatoes are going to do fine unless you're in an area where the soil temperature at root zone exceeds 85 degrees. They are tolerable through the summer, and they do quite well if you keep the moisture to them. They do not do well when the soil temperature at root zone falls below about 45, 50 degrees. That's when you're going to have problems. So what about some plants that enjoy more wet conditions? I know cranberries are one of them. They like a boggy area. You can grow cranberries in your backyard. It's not as profitable or production-wise as buying them from the in the fall, but you can do it.
I personally would not grow cranberries.
You don't like cranberries at all?
Cranberries,
No.
but also...
Why would you grow cranberries then?
But also, they are like, around the fall, they become like $1 a pound. They're like ridiculously cheap.
But we grew sweet corn one year and put a lot of effort and energy into it to video
So
it
you would
and...
grow cranberries?
No,
You would convert your backyard to a cranberry
cranberry...
bog?
Well,
That would definitely
depends on some people's location in the
raise
backyard.
some eyebrows of the neighbors.
Well, they're talking about you anyway, so what's the difference?
I mean, I don't like cranberries enough.
No, I mean, we grew corn and we never grew it again, but we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And it was good too,
It was good.
but it was just so much energy input on our end in order to get one ear per per stalk.
We really did put a lot of effort into it, but it was fun. It was fun to grow. So you can, anything that has a shallow root will do okay being soggy because it's not going to be susceptible to...
No, we're talking soggy. We're not talking like laying in a swamp area. We're talking about wet soil.
Maybe you have like a lower lying area that gets a lot of... When it rains, it kind of takes a while to dry out.
But it's not standing water. It's not drowning in a water like a pond.
No.
Yeah.
So lettuce does well because it has the shallow roots. And also it does appreciate... A lot of times when there's a lot of water, that means coolness. And lettuce likes the coolness. Cabbage and kale also do very well in the same situation. And then you can kind of get away with the vining vegetables as long as you have some sunlight. So because they're vining, you have to get them you want to get them off the ground anyway. So since they're growing up, they'll be okay in more wet conditions. And plus things like cucumbers and beans and peas, they like a lot of water. Not that your other plants don't, but a lot of water is not the worst thing, especially
they're very thirsty.
Especially cucumbers,
yes.
Yeah, because they're like 95% water, whatever.
Right. Watermelon, if in the right condition, watermelon likes a lot of moisture, and it likes a lot of heat. That as well. Same for eggplant and okra. As long as you can keep the moisture to them, the hotter it is, the better it is for them. But they don't like wet feet. There's got to be some conditions of breathable soil conditions.
So let's talk about that. You can't necessarily control how much shade you have, but you could control the moisture in a way. And that could be anywhere from switching to raised beds, or if you have an option for like straw bales.
Yeah, straw bale gardening.
And I was going to mention that in the first segment, but straw bale gardening is a good option if you have an area that just gets absolutely flooded. And
what was it that they were in? Was it Denmark that they would get flooded?
Denmark, yeah.
They would get flooded a lot, like a foot, and the bales are 18, 20 inches on edge when you lay it on the side, and the garden would always do well because that bale would only absorb enough moisture, and then it would repel what it didn't need.
Yeah.
And they would have phenomenal gardens all year long when that flooding was happening because everybody else's garden was gone, and the bales were elevated and absorbed like a sponge, and then once it was had the moisture in it, it wouldn't suck up anymore.
Yeah, so that's an option for you to definitely use straw bales. I think I would do that, or again, containers, or if it's something where you are determined to grow in the ground, bring some soil in, bring some compost in.
Certified. Make sure you know the source. Make sure it's legit. It's not just somebody that says, hey, I've got some free dirt. Dirt is not compost. Fill is not compost. That is just junk that they've scraped off the top in order to utilize an area to start building somewhere. They've just scraped the topsoil off with all the other junk that's in the soil, rocks, weed seeds. It's not been conditioned. It's not been treated in the heat treating process that traditional compost is made, where it gets to 170 degrees in windrows and it bakes the seeds so they're not viable.
Right.
I think we talked, was it last week or the week before? Just because it's free or just because it's cheap, you're probably going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that we were talking, Joey wasn't there, but we were talking with my family about how there were these random daffodils and growing in our garden. And my dad was like, well, maybe Joey brought in some soil from somewhere random, and the daffodil bulbs were in there. And I was like, first of all, Joey would not bring him random soil from
You don't
somewhere.
do that.
Yeah. And I got a little defensive.
Yeah. Well,
It's like, what are you accusing my husband?
we planted them years ago, and then we transitioned to raised beds. And that's where I was going to do a permanent flower bed there, and then we moved to raised beds, and
I remember now.
daffodils were part of the deal there. Yeah.
So anyway, surprise daffodils.
So there are plants that in which can be grown, and your mileage varies. Your plant's mileage will vary. So before you just say, "Oh well," and then plant, you want to do your research. And you can variation the plants. You don't have to have all one type of plant in one low-lying area or an area in which water retains on a regular basis. If you're in an area that water retains on a regular basis, you can look at different ways of getting drainage out of that. If you're in a low lier, you can put drainage in the garden or in the yard in order to shed that water away. Or some people will take, okay, this particular area in my garden is a low-lying area. I'm going to make a retention pond to hold that water, bring wildlife in, have a little solar sprinkler or fountain in it, so you can utilize the land, lay the land in order to benefit your property. Check with your ordinance to make sure that what you do is up to code and you don't have to pay penalties or fines, and just be aware of that. That's your warning. You do what you want, or do it at night, and nobody will see you.
I don't know. Somebody might see you.
Yeah.
Depending on what
Everybody's seeing everybody.
nosy neighbors.
Yeah. Soon it'll be warming up, Holly. It is going to be summer here, and you will want to protect your garden from those Japanese beetles, grubs, and alike.
Yeah, spring is here. Spring has sprung, and soon it'll be summer, and you got to think about those beetles and grubs in your yard.
Grub Gone is the answer. Grub Gone can be applied to your turf, around ornamentals, to control grubs, impact the lesson those beetles will have on your yard this summer. Easy to apply with a commercial spreader or irrigate it right in the soil, specifically designed when it goes in your soil to target those beetles and grubs without harming beneficial insects such as bees, ladybugs, and butterflies.
And to be honest, it's the only non-chemical that works. Find out more at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.